Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the program. We're calling it The Edge of Football.
Is that what we're calling it?
That's what we're calling it as of
Okay.
right now. and it was either that or The Edge of Sanity, one of those two things. So, hello, everybody. Great to have you joining us. If you're watching right now, happy Saturday. And we are one day away from another big football Sunday. A lot of great guests. You can see them on the screen. We've got Tom, we've got Krista, Steve, Gibby, Vicky, Doug. Of course, we have Zan and myself for this special edition. So just welcome to the program, everybody, and thanks for joining us, guys. I think it's time to talk some thrash.
Can we start off like every horrible corporate meeting and maybe just do a quick our name, favorite team, and go from there? Can we do that? You guys all look so excited.
Okay, so
right.
let's start. Let's go down here. Vicky, you get to go first. You got to tell us your favorite team and why you love them so much.
Well, I am born and raised in Miami, so I am a Dolphins fan.
Krista,
your turn.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Krista Muscarella. I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York, so I am a very proud member of Bills Mafia. Go Bills.
Tom?
Okay, I was born during the Steelers' prime years and even the Dolphins' prime years. So I started as a Dolphin fan. Switched over to Steelers when they started winning, but then the Giants, during their worst years, opened a new stadium, and I've been a Giant fan ever since.
Awesome.
Doug.
I'll go. I'm Doug. I was born in Toledo, Ohio. I've lived in Toledo, Ohio all my life, just south of the Lions up in Detroit, just to the west of the Browns, just to the east of the Bears. So that means I'm a Raider fan. That's right. I've been a Raider fan all my life. Ever since I was a little kid, when I was growing up, the Raiders were the team. They were the silver and black. And so I've loved them ever since I, was just a little tyke. And through the highs and lows, loved them ever since. So, yeah, it sounds logical, right? Everywhere I'm living, I'm a Raider fan.
Well, the good news is now that they're in Vegas, they're going to stay in Vegas. I think.
Wait, it happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas.
So they're stuck there. Bink, you're up next.
Yes, sir. Steve Binkley. I am in Dallas. But I was actually born, Doug, at Ohio State University Hospital, as my parents were college students there. I grew up like Vicky in the great state of Florida, and we are arch rivals. I went to Florida State and Tallahassee, but have been here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for 22 years, and so we've adopted the Cowboys. But I'm all about college football and can't wait to talk about my 0-3 Florida State Seminoles.
I'm sure that's the case. Sorry about that, by the way. I last saw you, Bink, I think right after one of those losses, right? When you came through Atlanta, yeah,
right after Labor Day, yes, sir.
Yeah, I got to hang out with Bink at Braves game, which was awesome.
Great time.
It was good stuff. Gibby, who do you like?
Right,
Gibby,
well,
who's your team?
Gibby Giblin, and as you could tell, I am a New York Jets fan. I am originally from Long Island, New York. Grew up just being a Jets fan, living on Long Island, going to Shea Stadium, seeing the Mets games there. And if you're a Mets fan at Shea Stadium, you become a Jets fan. So I'm what is known as a Jim fan, J-I-M. Jets, Islanders, and Mets, being from Long Island. And I also am the co-founder and currently run a Jets fan club, as you can see by the banner right here behind me, down here in Dallas, Texas, just across town from Bink.
Zan.
And I'm Zan. I'm from Where Gals Wander, and I was born and raised in Chicago, lived there my whole life until 5 years ago. I come from 3 generations, I think. No, 2 generations of Bears fans. So I'm a Packers fan. And we can get more into that in just a moment. But Adam, what I really want to hear about is is, you're from Atlanta, lived in
Mhm.
Atlanta your whole life. Tell us about how much you love the Falcons.
Yes, my name is Adam Asher from The Edge of Adventure and from Wander to the Edge. And yeah, I used to say that you don't pick your teams pick you. That was always my excuse. I was like, I grew up in Atlanta. Destiny made me an Atlanta fan because I'm from here. And I thought, did somebody leave? Or what happened there? I saw the.
We lost Doug.
Okay, Doug, come back. But yeah, so I would be. That's why I'm an Atlanta fan. The only thing is, there is some deep-seated disappointment in Falcons fans, and I haven't really been a Falcons fan since early in the third quarter, Super Bowl 2017.
Right.
And it's tough. But let's talk about you guys who still have hope. Let's don't dwell on the Falcons.
I have to turn my video off now too.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and that's really why we're doing this special broadcast, because here we are, normal people. We got our normal lives. We like to do a lot of different things, but there is something fun about pulling for your favorite sports team. And of course, I think primarily today we're talking a lot of NFL stuff, and this being Saturday, we've got big games tomorrow. Who has a game that they're looking forward to? They're thinking, "Oh no, we got this one, easy peasy."
We have
Our first game was against the Patriots, and we beat them, so I'm good for the year. Like I'm good.
All right, so you're and what's Miami's record right now?
1-1, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember the Falcons. We don't have any wins. And
1-1 because the Bills beat them, just on Sundays.
Oh yeah, so
Okay.
I wanted to mention I got Buddy at a Bills game 9 years ago, and it was when we beat the Bills. So I just wanted to point that out.
Ooh, Krista, how do you
Was the
feel about
score
that?
35-0? Did we get shut out?
No. But thanks for that.
All in good fun. Sorry.
So, but Krista, okay, so you've weathered, and here comes Doug. Doug, we missed you, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. We've had some thunderstorms going through and just lost the internet, so I apologize for that.
Oh no, that's all right. But we were just talking about how awesome the Bills are and how Krista's excited that now she has a team that is competitive after how many years? Like, what was that like? Loving a team that wasn't so good for a while.
A lot of heartache. It was always next year. And quite frankly, I'm very optimistic that this is our year. But if not, there's always next year. So early on in the season. So let's still have hope. And we were like 17-year drought, no playoffs. So really happy to have Josh Allen now and really actually have some hope and optimism for a good reason. So, yeah, it's a very welcomed feeling.
All right, quick. This is a quick poll. You know how social media loves polls. Raise your hand if your NFL team. Okay, we're talking NFL teams here. If your NFL team has won a Super Bowl, raise your hand. Krista, we'll talk later.
We will talk later because someday Buffalo Bills will be there and win.
I actually believe that. I believe
Thank
that. A question I had for Zan, though, is if you grow up in Chicago, help those of us who didn't grow up there, not familiar with it. How do you grow up in Chicago, or what's it like growing up in Chicago and then pulling away from the Bears?
And you have to realize that, and I'm going to totally give away my age now, in 1985, when the Bears had the big Super Bowl shuffle, I was going into high school around that time. And so, the height of like that passion and watching games with the family. And I secretly had a love with the Raiders, to be honest with you, Doug. So I want to talk more about that too. But I was always really into football. I met my husband, who was a Green Bay Packers fan.
Uh-oh.
And it was rivalry at first, and we would watch the games together, me cheering for the Bears and him cheering for the Packers. And he said at one point, just watch the game through the eyes of a Packers fan. And, the whole thing with the stadium and the legacy and watching the kids ride the players on their bikes, giving up their bikes so they could ride back and forth between the practice fields. And then Brett Favre was playing at the time, and just that magic, and I just fell in love with them. And I realized that this is, to me, what football was all about. It was about that heart and soul and the passion. It wasn't about which team was going to win. It wasn't about who had the better players. It was about that history. And, I'm kind of curious because some of you mentioned like you changed teams or you changed alliances based on where you moved to.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about your team that's really driving your loyalty? And I guess, let's see.
Pick on somebody.
Yeah, Doug, let's start with you, because why the Raiders? Where did that even? Hi, Bentley.
Bentley, come back. Come here. Oh, sorry. Bentley's here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
He's got his little
awesome.
jersey on.
Very cute.
That's awesome.
Very cute.
All right, so I'll just give you a quick rundown because I'm going to age myself too. Because when I was growing up, it's actually the Dolphins were winning the Super Bowls. So that was in the early 70s. And so I was a Dolphins fan because when you live with Detroit just north of you and Cleveland to the east, boy, we had nothing to root for locally. So we were Dolphins fans. And so there's a good friend of mine that was also another Dolphins fan, and we were just rooting for the Dolphins. And so one year in the playoffs, they were going to play the Raiders. And I'm just looking at it, I go, the Raiders are going to win. So I tell my friend, announce to him that the Raiders are going to win. And he absolutely hated me for it. I mean, I was a turncoat. But, the Raiders won. And I've been a Raider fan ever since. Just an absolute Raider fan ever since. And it's because they have a swagger to them. They just had that swagger. They had, it was Chris. You were talking about Shea Stadium. I mean, I loved it when I saw the Jets playing in Shea Stadium on the dirt. Because you get dirty and the shirts untucked and all that, and that was the Raiders to me. It was that kind of image, and so just loved it ever since.
Playing on a baseball field.
Yeah, well, I don't think
Exactly.
they do that anymore, right? There are no more stadiums on a baseball field. Used to love the dirt and that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to picking on Zan. Quick show of hands. Who else is tired of hearing ESPN talk about Aaron Rodgers?
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Gibby, what's up this year with the Jets? Where are we going this year?
What? It's
No, I'm curious. I mean, tell me what. I don't.
So,
We need to know
okay.
what's the plan.
So
What's going to happen?
So in watching the Mets play at Shea Stadium, 1983. My first visit to Shea Stadium was 1983. But previous to that, I had seen the Jets play. Playing at Shea Stadium. They were on national TV at the time. They were semi-good during the early 80s. And at the time, I was actually living away from New York, but still being able to see them. And watching them in the 80s and go through the Mud Bowl down there in Miami. And, I'll never forgive Don Shula for leaving the field uncovered and for it to get completely drenched and to slow down our running game in the AFC Championship game that year.
Yeah.
And leaving this young boy with tears of absolute horror as the Dolphins went on to the Super Bowl. So I'll never forgive Miami for that. But having that connection from home as a young boy, and then when I moved back up to New York in the mid 80s and attended my first Mets game at Shea Stadium, I made that connection with Jets and Mets at that time. So it was just kind of this bond thing, and also attending that Mets game with my dad and just those bonds going on. And the majority of my family, my grandfather and even my father, for the most part, were Giants fans. But I'd always been a Jet fan from the get-go there. Just, those connections, seeing the New York Sack Exchange of Klecko, Gastineau, Lions, and Salam, those defenses out there. And it was just just a familial connection and that connection to home. And it's carried me, even when I moved back down here to Dallas, it could have been easy to be a lifelong Cowboy fan, but, who just wants to settle for normal?
Hey, Chris, can I ask a question? Remember
Sure.
Richard Todd?
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's who I grew up watching.
I love watching Richard Todd. Man, that dude could throw darts. It was like throwing darts in a bar. I mean, the way that he just did it, boy, he just ripped that ball. I mean, I remember that. I just love seeing him play.
Those games against
he's a
Miami.
former Alabama quarterback, and we were hoping he would take the route that Joe Namath did, but he didn't. But, I'm wearing this 14 right now of another quarterback. But, hey, number 14, Richard Todd, love him.
Yeah.
Zan, your turn to pick on somebody.
Well, I actually have a different question I was going to throw out there, kind of along the same lines. So you associate football a lot with home or with family or with some sort of nostalgic memory that you have. And football almost has like its own culture, right? What kind of traditions do you have when you watch the game for the team of your choice? Tell us a little bit about the rituals or the traditions that you have when your team plays. And I'm going to start with Bink.
Yeah, you called on the right guy here. So I think last time I talked to you guys, I was headed out to Tallahassee for Florida State and Notre Dame, and use all the cliches. It was, a big alumni weekend. There was a buzz in the air, electricity in the air, former, game of the century. A lot of tradition between the Seminoles and the Irish. But to answer your question, we have the greatest tradition in Tallahassee, which is Chief Osceola coming out on Renegade, the horse, the Appaloosa, with a burning spear to plant at the 50-yard line. So it was a big deal. The 85,000 fans. And it turned out to be a great game, actually, on Sunday night, which was also unique. 85,000 fans doing the Seminole War chant and the tomahawk. So it was a great time, big alumni weekend. Got to see a bunch of friends, reconnect with a bunch of people, visit the fraternity, throw around some swagger at the fraternity, write a check, right, help out the guys at the fraternity. And for me, that's what it is. I love the pomp and the circumstance and the pageantry. We have a little bit of that actually in Dallas with the Cowboys to bring it back to the NFL. Some would say we have too much of that. Having a Victoria's Secret inside Cowboy Stadium maybe doesn't lend itself to winning football games, but it's something we do here in Dallas.
I'm sorry. What? What?
Jerry Jones has a
that's
Victoria's Secret retail shop inside Cowboy Stadium. Don't ask me why. Don't kill the messenger.
Okay. Just priorities is the only thing that comes to my mind, but okay.
It's a lot about the show, right? So it's this $1.5 billion stadium, not dissimilar to the new stadium in Las Vegas or in Los Angeles. But, it's all the high-end retail and the high-end clubs. That hasn't necessarily led to championships. The Cowboys have 5 Super Bowls, but the most recent was in the mid-'90s. And so like Florida State alumni, and Vicky, I'm sure you'd say the same thing for the Gators alumni, once fans have tasted that success, it's almost expected each year, right? And it's not going to happen, but that's the expectation going into the year for sure.
Well, I'll jump in, Zan, if you don't mind. So, in Toledo, we are right on the border with Michigan. So between Ohio and Michigan. And one of the biggest days of the year, probably bigger than Christmas for many of us, is the Ohio State-Michigan game. So I built like a theater here in my basement. And so every year for the Ohio State-Michigan game, invite all family and friends over. And we just fill up the basement just with both Ohio State fans and Michigan fans. It's just an absolute blast. And so one of the traditions we have is that as you're watching the game, and if there's there's a play you don't like or a call you don't like, everybody has a yellow flag. So you are allowed to take your yellow flag and pitch it across the room if you don't like a call or disagree with something, you just take your yellow flag. And so, a play comes up and all of a sudden yellow flags are just flying all over the basement in front of the screen. That is such, I can't wait for the next Ohio State-Michigan game.
I need to know about the board. I need to know
Krista. This board?
Yes.
Okay, this board.
Draft board.
Krista, go ahead and look at it again.
Do you update that every week? Like, what is going on behind you?
In another life that I have, all 3 week, I live in memory. And I also do a YouTube show every week. It's called Fire and Brim Sports. It's on YouTube. And myself and a friend of mine, every week we go down the NFL games, and then we pick who we think are going to win each of the games. It's against the spread too, so it's not like just straight up. You have to take into account, what Vegas says in the spread. And so we record about a 30-minute show every week, and it's an absolute blast. So we sit down, we just kind of, yak about the games, and then we get up at the board we call the picks board, and we pick who we think is going to win. And so we just kind of put it in the squares here. And let's see, you got Doug and Carl, and then usually every week we have a guest picker that has submitted their picks for us too. So it's an absolute blast. It's Firebrim Sports on YouTube. And I just smile every week. Football never ends for me in the sense that, every week and then you start over again and you get to go in. So, I'm just super excited about it. And then plus being able to touch those helmets, what it is, it's just a sticky helmet. And then we just put it on the board and, we just go ahead and say, who we're going to, pick for each game. It's an absolute blast. So Firebrim Sports on YouTube.
Doug,
I'll check it out.
At the bottom of the board, you have the Giants and the Falcons. Can you talk a little bit about that game real quick?
The Giants and the Falcons?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
It's got to be Giants in that one. The Falcons. Sorry, Adam. Sorry about that. The Falcons, they're just in rebuild mode for the next, umpteen years.
Yeah, 20, 30.
Tom, the question is going to be with the Giants. Is Daniel Jones the answer? Is he, I see Chris going, no. Okay, Chris, is Zach Wilson the answer?
Yet to be seen. Yet to be seen.
Yet to be seen. So, no, I get to go Giants in that one. I think the spread just a couple points in that. But I got to go Giants. I get a better running game. I think they have a better overall team than the Falcons. The Falcons, they're in rebuild mode. Sorry, Adam. Just hang with them.
Honestly, you gotta face facts. The Falcons are in trouble, not just this year, but they're in trouble. But you know what? We fortunately we have other sports, and so when we can't take it, and in fact, I've kind of been trying to, and you guys might have helped me make this decision this week on the broadcast because I'm trying to decide while the Falcons are doing whatever it is they're doing, who do I root for? Like, could I borrow a team? And on Monday night,
as far as Atlanta, your soccer team is amazing.
It is. It is. We're pleased with that. Of course, they had a little bit of a rough year at the beginning of the season, but they've kind of straightened that out. And we like to be proud of the things we can be proud of. The Falcons.
Adam, if you're interested in jumping through a table, the Bills Mafia is always looking to initiate.
Okay.
Wait, tell us more about that. What is the table? Tell us about the table, Krista.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get skipped over with my pregame traditions.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, I jump through a table. It's great if it's on fire. No, I'm totally kidding. I don't jump through a table, nor have I. The fans who jump through tables, I think, are significantly highly intoxicated. I don't know what the table is about. I don't know where it originated. I assume at a Buffalo Bills tailgate because they are out of control. Very fun, though. My tradition, though, I grew up in Buffalo, but I live out in Southern California now, have for the past 5 years. And a lot of my family is still in Buffalo. So we'll FaceTime before every game, and we do a shot of alcohol before kickoff. So we're still representing that Bills Mafia alcoholism, but no tables for us.
And what is the shot of?
Oh, I take Fireball because I'm not a big liquor person, and Fireball goes down a little bit easier than some others, but a lot of my cousins will do whiskey and all that.
Okay, so that's I wrote all that down.
Okay.
I wanna,
Consider it, we got
for the
plenty of
Bills.
room on the bandwagon. Nobody circles those wagons like the Buffalo Bills, so hop aboard.
Well, I think there are some rules, Adam. I mean,
Okay.
usually you could go to another conference. You can have another team from another conference. So if you know your AFC, you can go to NFC. Like I always like the Saints is like my backup team in the dark years of the Raiders. I don't know. I don't think you could go to the same division. That's just
Nah.
it's really you can't do that.
No, I
So-
don't think I could either. 'Cause
No,
I hate all
you
those
can't.
teams.
You can't do that. So I'm saying that you could go to another conference. So if you want to pick the Raiders, go right ahead, or the Bills, or the Jets, your Dolphins. You could pick any of those.
Okay. These are some good choices.
Monday night, he picked the Dolphins and was texting, or not the Dolphins, he picked the Lions. And so Monday night, through the whole game, he was texting me.
I
telling
was
me how
just
the Lions.
pretending. I was pretending to believe in the Lions just to see if I could make her mad, and I think I might have a couple of times.
There was
Flag
some
on the
choice-
play with the Lions.
Yeah,
that
well.
deserves a flag on that play. No, don't pick the Lions.
Okay.
Oh,
But
so
you know,
Matthew
Raiders-
Stafford. At least Matthew Stafford went to the Rams. Like
Yes,
so,
yes.
and you see these guys, that you love when they played at the college level, and you see them if they so often right there. If they're good, they end up on a team that isn't good. And of course, again,
Georgia.
Kidding aside, the concept is right that allows that team to be in rebuild mode, and so on and so forth. But the Lions, it's Detroit's just one of those places. I think that they don't. I don't think they ever do rebuild. And of course, I'm saying the Falcons concern me in the same way. But I was pleased to see Matthew get to go to the Rams, and hopefully he'll have a good season over there.
He's a Georgia grad, right?
He is.
Yes. Came from Georgia. Yeah.
He is.
Grew up in Dallas. too.
So
Yeah.
Tom has I want to get Tom's perspective here. Other than obviously the Giants, what team other than the Giants should everybody else be worried about this year?
Be worried about?
Yeah.
Tampa. Tampa is scary as long as Brady's there. I hate to say that. I hate to give him credit, but I mean he's doing a lot of really good things. The Rams have looked really good. The Raiders have looked good. Carr has 900 yards or something over 2 games. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. So I don't know. I mean, it takes me a few weeks. Like I'm still kind of in baseball mode. I watch football. I watch my team, but my team's not doing great. So I'm just kind of waiting for baseball to end, and there's not anything else to watch. And I'll watch my Giants a little more earnestly. I have no plans to go to any Giant games for the first half of the season at least, and I'm not even sure if later in the season. But I kind of lost track of where we were going with that. But who else to watch? Nobody in the NFC East. In the AFC, I think the Raiders right now are getting off to a good early start. Bills, yes. I mean, they are formidable. I don't know what's going on with your Packers. I really don't. I know they look okay on Monday night, but that magic, that luster seems to be, fading away.
They're going to have to go through some rebuild years
It's
soon.
hard at the beginning of the year to say who's going to be good because there's always a lot of turnover in rosters. The schedule is set up to try and keep things kind of balanced in the middle. The worst teams end up playing the other worst teams in the league, so they could end up with some wins that some of the good teams who are playing other good teams lose out on. So everything kind of should stay neutral. It's really hard to get a good gauge early. So I don't know. For all I know, the Giants, who were like 1 or 2 plays away from winning the division last year, could come out on top. Who knows?
And you never know when someone's going to have an injury that could just totally screw up the year.
Exactly. And, and Tom, your team, the Giants, the last 2 Super Bowls under Eli, from the beginning of the season to like mid-November, they were horrible. I mean, they looked horrible. And then they gained fires around Thanksgiving, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So even if a team's not doing well right now, don't throw it away. Don't throw them out in the dumpster, because they can pick it back up. It's a long season. And Krista or Vicky, you said it, injuries. I mean, every team is already having injuries, and it's a long season.
Tom, I want to know about your traditions. What do you do as you watch the game? What do you wear? What do you do? What do you eat?
Am I home, or am I on the road watching a game? Because I know we're supposed to talk travel. If we're talking travel, I want to get to the stadium early. I want to get there, walk around the outside, walk around the inside, find the best, find out where the craft beer stands, have a nice pint, find out what the best meal is, and then just go to my seat for a little while and just try and take in the stadium and enjoy the game. If I'm at home, it's much more toned down than that. I don't really have a tradition.
What about what you wear?
Oh, I don't. If I'm watching it with like my neighbors and stuff, sure, I'll have a shirt on like this, or usually just a T-shirt, a giant T-shirt. But
I thought you had different options for different scenarios.
Oh no, well, that's when I travel. So yeah, like I said, this is my giant road shirt.
I happen to have it right here.
This is my team and this is my shirt when. Keep going the wrong way. When
there you go.
The Giants aren't playing. It's any two teams. I like football that much that I could watch any two teams play and enjoy it. So I would wear this to a stadium. And then if it's a Giant home game, I have a bunch of blue shirts that.
All right, let's see some of the Giants gear though. You got.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You're making them work.
Yeah, because it has the.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Dude, that's a cool shirt. That's a cool shirt.
This is the first Super Bowl. This is the second Super Bowl, which is relevant here. I forgot who they. Anybody? And then the two recent Super Bowls on the other side. So yeah, I do like this one a lot.
That's cool shirt.
Yeah.
So
hey, Adam, shout out to Tom. He got to his 30th ballpark again this past weekend when he came in to see a Rangers game with Gibby and I on Friday night.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Getting close with the football stadium. So in November, I'm hoping to get to the LA stadium on 2 consecutive weekends and get see Raiders and I'm sorry, not the Raiders, the Rams and
Chargers. Yeah.
And if I do that, that would just leave me with the new Vegas stadium, and I don't think I'm stupid enough to really book a trip in December to go see them. But with one stadium to go, I'll be very eager to get there, and
I think that would be a really smart decision, actually.
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking the opposite. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
That's the great thing, right? Is we're a bunch of people here talking football on Wander to the Edge, which is a travel program, right? We're friends who talk travel, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole great thing about sports is you have a reason to travel out. You can travel out early, see the site, see the area. Tom, you completed a little bit more of your quest on national parks on your trip. But then you can get to the game and to the tailgate. And usually, like me, I have connections on Facebook with, different Jets groups. And I could show up to one of the various tailgates at MetLife Stadium at D7 or L7 or the Gotham City Crew tailgate, and just hop on in and meet new friends. And it'll be just like a big old family reunion.
Sure.
That's what makes sports so great. Even, what we do down here in Dallas with Gangrene DFW, the fan club here is, people, I don't travel as much. It's more people come into town. So when there's an out of towner, who comes in from New York and they're here visiting family or they're here on business and they just need a place to watch the Jets, they can type in where to watch a New York Jet game in Dallas. And our bar is going to pop up and we're going to get people come in. It happens, usually once a week, somebody comes in and says, hey man, I'm glad to find a place where Jet fans can watch a game, and have the sound on. That's a great thing to do. In 2015, when the Cowboys were down here, we threw a big old party for everybody coming down from New York to watch the game here at Cowboy Stadium, which is like, the big attraction and big draw for people. So, being able to do that for other people is really good. And to have people tell me at the end of that night, hey, I had the time of my life tonight, man. Thanks a lot for doing this, man. I came home and I kind of cried, thinking about that. Just, I was able to help other people and, let them have a great time, either, at that party the night before the game or at the tailgate, something like that. It's a great feeling, and it's what brings us all together. That's why sports are just, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk culture around the teams. And as I was listening to everybody talk, I kind of was reminded of it. I guess a weekend I was in Boston, wasn't at a game, but just seeing the way the communities and the restaurants and the bars and wherever the game was on TV, right? You see this passion. I think in the northern part of our country, you see this passion for the NFL teams that I will be the first to say that we do not have in the South. I mean, don't get me wrong, that we like our teams and there's a great fan base around them, but we experience that kind of fanaticism more around at the college level. And it gets, Saturdays are huge, right? Huge in that regard. But people, again, to kind of circle back to the traveling concept, if you've had the chance to travel around, as many of you have, what are some of the best cultures around particular teams that you've seen? Not your own, but you're like, you know what? I got to say they have a great culture around their team. So I'm going to throw that out there. Anybody can answer that one.
Well, yeah, I can answer that, I think, but I want to start just a little bit before the game. I've been to a lot of the stadiums like we've been talking about, and one of the things it came up in a time hop this week, a tweet that I'd made where I just noticed in the airport, it seemed like, especially if it's a hub, you go to Atlanta or Minnesota or Dallas, you will see every single NFL jersey being worn or a shirt. There's somebody traveling to see their game. When I went from New York to Jacksonville a few years ago, there had to be 200 people there wearing Giants shirts on their way. Same thing when I went to see them in Tampa and every place else. And it's not just the Giants. I mean, it's every team has their fans and they're traveling to see their teams. And it's always a fun thing. It makes me think like I'm not the only lunatic out there traveling all over the place to see, to root for their team on the road. But there's a lot of people that just enjoy that. And yeah, when you arrive in that city, I think a recent example for me was going to Houston. So I'm wearing a Giant shirt. I'm in Houston. I found out where my friends are going to be. It's a bar where the Giant fans are welcome. I mean, not that they'd be unwelcome anywhere, I suppose, but the security guards are all, Houston fans, and they're playfully giving me a hard time as I'm trying to walk past them, all 5'0" of me. But no, I think it's just a fun experience. I've traveled to just about every city by this point to see a team, and there was not one time where I felt out of place or uncomfortable, that the fans were just back, 100% behind their team. Fans that stand out to me are the 49ers. I mean, they traveled very well for their team. New Orleans was probably the most fun I ever had after a game where they came back and won. I think it was against the 49ers, in fact, and just everybody walking from the stadium over to Bourbon. I mean, thousands of people walking arm in arm, just, I think it would have been the same thing if they lost, but just everybody happy and having a good time. That to me was, one of the fun or most fun community kind of things, to answer your question specifically. But yeah, there's a lot of them out there, I think, all over the country. Seattle's known for their fanaticism. That's another city where you can go to a stadium and then walk back to downtown after the game. So it's all over the place.
If I could jump in, I think football in a way is almost like it's a great community. It's a great uniter. Mm-hmm. My wife and I just got back from a vacation over the past week and a half. And we're out west and northwest going up to Alaska on a cruise. And I'm wearing either an Ohio State shirt or my Raiders face mask on. And the comments, I mean, just people, everybody's looking at the shirt. They had a comment about Ohio State or had a question or about the Raiders. And then I'm doing the same thing when I'm seeing somebody else wear some garb of some team. And so there seems to be some, everybody's on the same level when you're having that conversation. And I always see smiles as well when people want to talk about it. It's such a cool thing that, wherever you go, you can have a conversation with people, complete strangers, and all of a sudden you're talking like you've been lifelong friends when you're talking about football. It's such a cool thing. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I always think it's a really neat thing when that happens.
And I don't think that's limited to the U.S. either, because I mean, I've traveled to different countries, and wherever there's expats, or just a big, it's wherever it's a big hub for Americans, there's going to be football. Like I remember I was in Buenos Aires in Argentina for a few weeks, and I just happened to be walking, and I walked past a bar, and I heard, it was Sunday, and I heard English and football and like cheering, and I was like, what is this? And like I ran inside and got to talking to the guy behind the bar. He was American. He had set up shop there, and he started this bar, and all the screens had different games. And I became friends with a lot of the regulars, and I was going there every Sunday to watch the Dolphins, and everybody had their team, obviously, and everybody talked a little bit of smack. But, it was cool to hang out with these people that just wanted to hang out and watch football together.
Yep.
And a good example is these crowd coordinations. You think about how divisive society can be right now. I'm thinking about the Penn State game where everybody had on a white T-shirt and had a whiteout in the stand. I know Vicky down at Florida games, they're singing Tom Petty songs. Michigan has the Killers, Mr. Brightside. I mean, anytime you can get 70,000 fans doing the same thing, that's pretty special. I guess the Buckeyes do Carmen, Ohio. That's kind of a switch back and forth. So those things are cool. And that's part of the tradition question you asked before. But I just like the idea that you can get that many people. College kids are easy, right? They can social media decide to all wear white T-shirts. But everybody's singing the same song in unison. And Vicky, I think you're right. It started in England with football, soccer. Those fans are absolutely insane about their traditions. But it's cool to see that being adopted here in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, and Bink, you mentioned about Carmen. After an Ohio State game, whether they win or lose, the entire stadium, they play Carmen, and everybody gets together, and you lock arms, and you sing Carmen after the game. And it is, and again, it doesn't matter, what the final score was, who won, how things went. All of a sudden, okay, it's over with. We're back to, this one big community. And then, it's really such a cool tradition. I must admit, it really kind of, hits you when you do that, because it's such a cool thing to see 100,000 people gather together kind of as one in a way. For since we're all locking arms. So it's a really cool tradition. And it really, especially in the colleges, right, that they have so many just cool, the whiteout. Oh my gosh. Isn't that the coolest thing in sports?
That was cool.
Saturday night? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just hearing you, Doug, reminds me of going to see, I know it's hockey, but the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah. And when they sing the national anthem. And to be there in person and hear that, and everybody starts screaming and cheering, like I seriously teared up, because it's everybody in the stadium. Yeah. It doesn't matter what team you're rooting for, and just that sense of patriotism and passion as well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, completely agree.
Any other cultural comments about games you've been to, football cultures you've seen that left you impressed?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo has a good football culture. Yes, I'm actually complimenting you here, Krista.
Thank you.
But they do. They're a small town up there in upstate New York, darn near Canada, and just had to get a dig in there just for the heck of it. But even though they're there, I mean, that's their thing, and they live for those now 17 games a year plus playoffs if they're lucky to get there, and they live for those. That it's towns like that, that Rust Belt there, that they, that's their community. That's what they do. They have the tailgates. They have a community of fans that extends everywhere. Down here in Dallas, they have a group called the Bill Backer. Well, the Bills Backers are everywhere, right? But down here, they actually have two bars, one in Dallas, one in Fort Worth, and they pack them, for the beginning of the season, and then depending on how the season goes, they keep the bar full or it empties out, and that's with any fan base. It's not a dig just at Buffalo, as much as I would like to take one. But you get to meet these people and you hear, where they're from, and they talk about their hometown. And I got to meet, one of Buffalo's super fans actually lived down here. His name was Ezra Castro, and he was just an absolutely A1 gentleman and guy. I mean, he was a man's man straight up, and Ezra was absolutely great, and his nickname just surpassed me there, Krista, and I don't know why.
Pancho Villa.
Thank you. Yes, Pancho Villa. Yeah, exactly. And he was great, and he was down here when the NFL had their draft down here, and the Bills backers were at the draft along with us, and he got to actually make a pick on stage for the Buffalo Bills. They're the last pick of the second round for them, and it was absolutely awesome that he got to do that. And unfortunately, he left us due to cancer. But he's a great person, and it's people like that you meet in this culture that we have. The out of town fans, the bar fans. That you kind of talked about there, Adam. But you meet people and you can just strike up a conversation. And you may play against them that Sunday and you may give the jab or whatever. But, at the end of the day, it's just football and you get to know people.
Yeah, Gibby, I love your passion for what we call the backers bars, but fan clubs or, gatherings all around the country and internationally. I was traveling recently this past weekend and went to a Bills backers bar in Charleston. So I got to watch the game with Bills fans, even though I was in the South in South Carolina, far from Buffalo. And then I always go to the Bills backers bar out here in LA. In Santa Monica, the Los Angeles Bills backers. And honestly, there's like upwards of 200 people, all Bills fans, that go to this one bar. And in addition to the sense of community, like I actually kind of feel like I am in Buffalo, even though I'm 2,000 plus miles away. So I love the fan clubs and the sense of community, all gathering for a sports team.
I remember we went up to see a game at Green Bay, and we were nervous because, the Bears and Green Bay have a huge rivalry. Mm-hmm. And we drove up and our license plate said Chicago and Illinois and such. So we were really worried about that. Because if you see the Packers in a Bears stadium, which I've also done, it's not pretty. Bears fans are not nice. So we were kind of scared. But as we were driving around, and literally it's surrounded by neighborhoods. It's like in a subdivision. Yeah. Literally.
It is.
We were driving around trying to find a parking spot, but it was so full because of tailgating that one of the homeowners came out and said, "Are you trying to find somewhere to park?" And we said, "Yeah." He goes, "Just park in my driveway." And we looked at each other like, okay, what's going to happen to our car? But he was totally serious. He's like, "No, you got Packers gear on. Like, you're good. You're cool." And like walked over with us to the tailgate, introduced us to everybody. We had like brats and beer shoved in our hands and stuff. Like,
and he said that'd be $30.
No, not at all. I mean, it was pretty amazing. And again, it's just that spirit of coming together and bringing people together.
Sure.
That is for sure, especially up in Green Bay. You're right. Yeah. If you're a football fan, to get up to Lambeau Field at least once, it's like a pilgrimage to go up there. It really is a cool experience.
The frozen tundra. That's
yeah. We saw another game, and it was in January, and the temperature on the field was 0 degrees, like the actual temperature. Yeah. I think the wind chill was like -17. I've never been so cold in my entire life. It was a Sunday night game too. It was. Oh, wow. I'm glad that I did it to say I did it, but
yeah. My one Packer game was like 70 degrees, and it didn't really feel like an official Packer game. I mean, everything else was awesome about it, but it needed to be colder, I think, to really be an authentic Packer game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't that something about football? You make a great point there, Tom, is that if I gave you tickets and I said I've got tickets to a Detroit Tiger game, and you got great seats, but it's going to be like 45 degrees out, 45 degrees and a little bit of wind, and you're going to go, well, that's cool. I'm not sure if I want to go to, the baseball game outside. If I gave you tickets to a football game, any football team, And I said, hey, but the problem is it's going to be maybe like 35, 40 degrees out. You're going to go, dude, that's absolutely perfect weather. That's exactly what I want. I mean, isn't that the funny thing about football is that you want that weather? Where in other sports, it's like, no, there's no way I could sit outside and watch a game in, that kind of weather.
Yeah. I mean, as I've gone to games in Miami and Tampa and San Diego, you get tired of watching games and football games in shorts. I went to Cincinnati, and just like you said, it was 40 degrees, and we had been out for a few days. Me and my friends. I think I talked about this on my episode, but first time traveling with the guys, and we're going to a first football game together. I know they don't go to a lot of games, but it's like really right around 40 degrees. Cincinnati, we've got high up seats. Sun is shining right on us. There's no wind, and it just could not have been more perfect football weather. Nice light sweatshirt, and we were good for the 3 hours during the game. Definitely.
We used to tailgate in my neighborhood. We would actually wait until the temperature was like 15 degrees, and we would set up tarps and tents in our driveways and go out and cook on the grill and, bonfire and bundle up and stay outside for the 2 hours before the game just to have that tailgating experience. And we were crazy.
I have like the exact opposite of that because tailgating and oh my gosh, it is just so hot. It's just, you literally feel like you're melting into the seats. And I mean, they put some covers up on the stadium. They've done some remodeling at Dolphin Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. Or I still call it Joe Robbie, but that's just me. But there's still so much sun coming through that it doesn't matter what time of year you're melting. It's just so hot.
So, Krista, if I can ask, what's the coldest game you've been to at a Bills game?
I was just thinking, I wish that I had consistent weather, but we have the whole gamut. I was starting in, September, still decent weather in Western New York. And then I've been, to answer your question, to a game right around the holidays if I'm, back for winter, for Christmas or other, holidays, that I've gone to a couple games, and I don't want to say negative, but it feels negative. It's single digits, snow, wind chill, all of that. And maybe Bills Mafia gets their rep because the colder it is, I kind of have a feeling the colder it is, the more we drink to stay warm. But it's been pretty cold at some of the games, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It just adds to the experience. And just going back, just about the sense of community. I mean, we're all from different fan bases, all different teams, and we're still coming together to talk football. And I just, I know I threw a few digs out there, but I just think it's so cool that we can do this.
How about you, Bink? A cold game that you've been to?
Well, I'm like Vicky, in Florida, we're usually sweating, right? And then, we're awfully spoiled. We talked about this, Tom and Gibby and I, inside the Rangers game. And typically, obviously in August, September, you're going to be pretty hot outside in Texas. But in the air conditioned comfort, we actually had some people saying they were kind of chilly, right? Because it was a little cool inside. So I think we've become a little bit spoiled in these big mega stadiums for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just pop on into Victoria's Secret and,
You need to bring it all back around, Zan. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
So if I could just.
Nice for the lovely misses, right?
Hey, Krista, real quick funny story. Years back, this is in the early 90s, I saw my Raiders play in Buffalo. And it was a late December game. Mm-hmm. And so we were driving on Saturday to get to Buffalo. And it just a snowstorm getting in there. And so the next morning we get up and the game time temperature was 8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep.
And the wind is howling. And by the time the game was over, it was minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was a cold game. Mm-hmm. So now my Raiders come out of the tunnel first. And these are a bunch of tough guys, right? They come out and they have the short sleeve shirts on, because they're going to intimidate, right? And so they come out on the field. And then the Bills come on the field a few minutes later. There wasn't a layer of skin that was exposed. They were covered up to the hilt with every fabric that they could, And I was thinking, if I'm in the line of scrimmage and I'm the Bills. I'm going to the Raiders players. Man, it looks really cold. You're cold, aren't you? You know, I'd really be picking on them. I mean, it was just stupid.
All right, we're getting close to the end here, and what's amazing about this is I was just looking at the clock. You know, we're coming up on the hour mark, which is sort of the limit for Wander to the Edge, and yet it feels like it's only been a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it really does.
And there's actually so much more to say, and you guys are all awesome. But I wanted to throw out one final question here, and you know, favorite moment, as it relates to your team. What's that moment where you go, yeah, if I had to choose one moment for my team, this was it. This was it. And again, I'll let anybody answer that. It doesn't have to. We don't all have to answer that because I don't have one of those moments. But yeah, that moment where you're like, you know, this is pretty sweet.
Well, I have one right away that pops into mind. This was just a couple of years ago. And if you look it up on YouTube, just look up Miami Miracle. And it was a great play right at the end. We ended up beating the Patriots. And everyone expected, you know, the Dolphins to lose. It was the last play. And then they tossed it back and all this kinds of craziness and touchdown. And we won. And everyone lost their minds. And again, anytime we beat the Patriots, I mean, obviously, I don't like the Bills. I don't like the Jets, but I hate the Patriots. So anytime we beat them, it doesn't matter if we go to the Super Bowl or not. Like, that is our Super Bowl. So highly recommend looking up Miami Miracle on YouTube, and you will see that awesome play.
Who else?
I'll jump in real quick. I used to go every year to the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. And what's really cool is every year a different team would come in, two different, AFC and NFC team. So one year, the Raiders were playing the Packers in the Hall of Fame game. And I couldn't wait to go to that game. And this was before we had kids. And so my wife and I took 3 of our nephews to the game. And what is so cool about it is, you know, you're seeing your team play. It's just an exhibition game, but it's still fun to see it. And then after the game was over with, and you get to meet the players as they're walking out the field, which is really cool. So the stadium basically empties out, and we had a football with us. And I took my nephews, and we lined up at about the 10-yard line. And I had them running patterns into the end zone, which is covered in the Raiders logos and all that. You know, it's like almost like a Super Bowl look in the field. And it was so fun. What a memory. Me pitching the football to my nephews, and I had them dive into the paint and all that, didn't mess up their shirts and that. It was such a cool experience to be on the field and kind of get that experience, tossing the football and having them spike it, for a touchdown and that. It's just an awesome memory.
Tom, go ahead.
My favorite moment that I've watched on TV.
So aggressive.
We have Chris's lovely face on while I'm talking.
The reaction would be worth it. Go ahead.
The very first Super Bowl we won, there was one famous play in there. John Elway, the quarterback of the Broncos, just is scrambling around, and he tries to throw the ball up. Our defensive lineman, George Martin, just out of nowhere, big tall guy, but just tips the ball up, catches himself, and runs down the sideline. Everybody's chasing him. I don't know, 250, 270, whatever he weighed. You're going. Go ahead, touchdown in the Super Bowl, and they just stayed ahead the rest of the game. Probably my all-time favorite highlight of any Giant game ever.
Thanks for not choosing the other one. I have a favorite one. When you first posed the question, I was like, well, it hasn't happened yet because, go big or go home has not happened. But, 2017, when the playoff drought finally felt like it was a curse at one point, we finally made the playoffs again. But it was the way in which we finally broke that drought. And there were 2 things that needed to happen. We needed to beat the Dolphins. Apologies, Vicky. But we were able to accomplish that. But we needed help from the evening game. Andy Dalton and the Bengals needed to beat Baltimore. And if they did, then we were in the playoffs after 17 years. And Andy Dalton and the Bengals had nothing to play for. If they won, didn't matter. They weren't going to make the playoffs, but very, very late in that game, Andy Dalton did throw a touchdown. They did beat the Ravens. We made it to the playoffs because of that. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it because it was such a big deal. And just like, Buffalo, City of Good Neighbors, all of that, like, this was so impactful. It made such a difference. Bills fans, and I think beyond, because I know that there's a lot of Bills fans, but I didn't know there were this many. We made donations to Andy Dalton's foundation in increments of $17, and over $400,000 were raised for his foundation. And I don't know. I mean, aside from making the playoffs,
That's
like
great.
making so much of a difference is also really cool.
It is, and you guys are awesome. What a great friendship we all share, and it's so awesome to be able to chat about these sorts of things. And I think, as the point's been made, to tease each other about the different teams, but there is a camaraderie that comes with it, which is pretty awesome. So thanks for spending some time today on a very special Wander to the Edge. Zan, anything else?
I'm just going to mention that I'm an owner of the Green Bay Packers, and no one else can say that they're an owner of their team. So I'm going to leave it on that note. And also just, we appreciate you guys joining us today. Friends talking travel in the form of football.
Mm-hmm.
And just every week getting to meet great people like you right here on Wander to the Edge.
And welcome to the After the Show show.